Okay, so this is our last day of law of sines and cosines. I know some people are concerned because in Edgenuity, when you sign in, it will be like overdue assignment. Don't worry about that. Like, it's totally okay if you have something that shows overdue, as long as you're keeping up on my calendar. Because again, we will even out in the end, but sometimes they have a bunch of stuff clumped together that you guys don't need that much on one day type of thing. So law of sines, law of cosines. How do I know which one to use? Again, I like to go ahead and set up my table of information. So we're given some information here. We can label the triangle with the information that was given in the problem. So I'm kind of just filling this in quickly. An angle Q is 15 degrees. Obviously, these are not drawn to scale. So note that just because this looks like an obtuse angle, it is apparently definitely not drawn to scale. So make sure that you know, just because a triangle is set up a certain way doesn't mean that's what it's actually illustrating based on the values that they give you. So this is triangle QRS. And so again, I'm going to transfer all this information that I filled in my triangle over here. So I can visualize, well, do I have a full set? Do I not? And so I know that this is 15 degrees. I don't know those two. I know, let's see, QRS. I don't know my side Q. I know that R is 20. I know S is 30. So I am asked to find the length of Q. So we're looking for the length of side Q. This is what we want. And when I look here and I go, okay, do I use law of sines? Do I use law of cosines? I'm looking to see, do I have a full set or not? If I have a full set, so if I had an angle in the corresponding side, then I would want to use my law of sines. And in this case, we don't have that. That means since there is no full set, this is going to be a law of cosine. Okay, so law of cosine, we could either use it one way to find an angle or to find the side. So if I'm going to go ahead and use it to find the side, because that's what I'm looking for, I would want to use the equation Q squared is equal to, I use the two sides that I know, so R squared plus S squared minus 2RS cosine of Q. So it's cosine of the angle that we're solving for the corresponding side. So I have everything I need to solve this, so I plug it in. Q squared is equal to 20 squared plus 30 squared minus 2 times 20 times my 30 times cosine of 15 degrees. And I go to my wonderful calculator. When I do this, I usually always do these two values together, and then I do all of this together. So 20 squared plus my 30 squared is equal to 1,300 minus, and it's 2 times 20 times 30 times my cosine of 15, and it's going to be 1,159.11. I go ahead and subtract this, so 1,300 minus my answer, and I get that Q squared is equal to 140.889, however many you want to write there. So remember, I need to take the square root to solve for Q, and when I go ahead and I take the square root of my answer, I end up with Q is going to be approximately 11 points. And I look to see my answer choices, and I can see it's 11.9. You can see they rounded it to the 10th place, so it's 11.9. And we're done. There's my answer right there. All done. So law of cosines problem. This next one says, which equation is true about triangle CBD? So I'm going to focus in on my triangle CBD. When we talk about triangle CBD, it's from C to B to D. So they're talking about this triangle right here in the yellow. So which one of these is true? And each one of these has to do with my h squared. Well, h squared is equal to, they're all something squared here. What does that remind you of? Hopefully you guys are thinking Pythagorean theorem. So you guys are like, wait, hey, I thought we weren't using Pythagorean theorem. I can't use Pythagorean theorem. Well, we can here because this is a right triangle. So when I think about this triangle CBD and I think about the Pythagorean theorem, this tells me that my two sides, my two legs, each squared added together, should equal my hypotenuse squared. So in this case, it would be some x squared plus h squared is equal to a squared. Now remember, each one of these is written as an h squared by itself, so I need to get rid of my x squared over here. So I'm going to subtract x squared from each side. And when I do that, I end up with h squared is equal to some a squared minus x squared. So which one of these does that match up with? It matches up with this one right here, and that's exactly what they were looking for. So don't overthink some of this stuff. Pay attention. Do I have a right triangle? If I have a right triangle, I can use Pythagorean theorem. I can use my SOHCAHTOA if I have a right triangle. I need to use my law of sines and law of cosines when we don't have right triangles. Moving along. So again, these are all type of sample. These are all problems from the quizzes. You might see the exact same ones. You might not. But you'll see something similar, I'm sure. All right, Eddie said the length of side C in triangle CBD using the law of cosines formula. So there it is. Sophia wants to solve the side length of B. Which equation could Sophia use to solve for the side length of B given the two other sides and the measure of their included angle? So they're given two sides and the included angle. So that's a side, angle, side. Side angle, side triangle, that's going to be my law of cosines. So you can also set up your table of information, but they're telling you have two side lengths and their included side. So it's the two sides, and the included side means the angle in between the two sides. So if that's the case, then I would need to go ahead, and this is very similar to what we've already seen on the other side, where it would be b squared is equal to some a squared plus c squared, because those are the two other sides, minus 2ac cosine of angle B. So the side I'm looking for has to be cosine of that corresponding angle. And that's what they're looking for. They'll give you the answer choices for this one. I just don't have them on here with the problem. But that's all you're doing. That's all you're looking for right there. Done. Next problem. So you don't have to solve anything for it. They just want you to tell them what formula would you use. And my last example today. So we've done some law of cosines, we've done right triangle. So this one's going to be my law of sines, but how do I know? Well, let's label the information we're given. So it says that we have a triangular pool. We know that side F is 12 meters. So this is going to be 12 meters. I know that both angles G and F are 40, so angle G is 40, angle F is 40, which means that my angle D is 100 degrees. Well, of course, if these two add up to 80 and I subtract it from 180, then this has to be 100. Then it says, what is the side, what is the length of side D? We want to know, what is this side over here? So if I set up my information, I know it's triangle D, G, F. I know that D is 100 degrees. I know that G and F are 40 degrees. I'm looking for my side D. I don't know what that is. My side G, I don't know what it is either. And my side F is equal to 12 meters. I can easily figure out what that side G is, but we won't go into that right now. Congruent angles, congruent sides, it has to be. But they're not asking for that one. But again, just isosceles triangle, if these two angles are congruent, then the corresponding sides have to be congruent. So let's go ahead though. We're asking for D. I can't use Pythagorean theorem. Even if I knew that this was 12, I couldn't use Pythagorean theorem because it's not a right triangle. I could use law of sines or law of cosines. I would have to figure out which one I could use. But I look here and I go, okay, I have what I call a full set. Angle, corresponding side. I know my angle, corresponding side. This full set, this is what, again, my full set tells me that I can use my law of sine, which we always like the law of sines. You guys enjoy the law of sines better than the law of cosines. I don't know why, it just is what you guys like. So I go ahead and I go, okay, well, if I'm looking for D, then I'm gonna need to use my D's and my F's, my set of D's and my F's. So I'm gonna set this up and I'm gonna do 12 all over sine of 40. So again, this is my side F over my angle F is equal to my side D that I'm looking for. I don't know what it is, all over sine of 100 degrees. That's my angle D. So if I'm going to use law of sines and I want to solve for D, then I'm going to go ahead. My next step is going to be to cross multiply. So I multiply diagonally, and when I do that, I get D times sine of 40 degrees is equal to 12 sine of 100 degrees. And if I want D, then I got to get rid of the sine of 40, so I'm going to just divide both sides by sine of 40 degrees, sine of 40 degrees. And this tells me then that D is going to be approximately, I go to my calculator and I do 12 times sine of 100 is equal to, and then I do divided by my sine of 40, and I get 18 point, this rounds to 18.4 meters. And I look over here and my 18.4 meters, there's my answer. And we are done. Do I have any other questions? So we kind of covered an example, law of sines, law of cosines, or right triangles. Again, don't forget that they reference your right triangles quite a bit, which you can use your, this case we use Pythagorean theorem. For this example, some of them will have you use your law or your SOHCAHTOA. So knowing what that sine is opposite over hypotenuse, maybe use cosines adjacent over your hypotenuse. So you will use your sine, cosine, and tangent for your right triangle. So pay attention to what kind of triangle you're given. Any particular questions though, you can unmute, you can put into the chat. Tomorrow we'll start another new section. But other than that, this is, you guys do your quiz today. Again, I cannot emphasize enough, if it shows that you are behind in assignments in Edgenuity, don't freak out that you're an assignment behind. Just pay attention to the calendar that I provided for you. So as long as you're staying on pace with the calendar I provided, totally fine. Don't stress out, you will be fine. Some of you guys, I'm kind of like that too, where I'm like, oh my goodness, it says I'm behind and I feel like I need to do the assignment. No, you don't need to. Just stay on pace with me because I'll go over examples so I can help kind of teach you guys and support you guys with things that you guys might need. Especially as we get further into this chapter, because there's going to be some parts that are going to get kind of tricky. So if you guys don't have any questions, then you guys have an amazing day, and I will see you guys tomorrow for a brand new section.
Have a good day.
Thanks, you too. Take care. I'll see you guys. Bye.